Hey guys, welcome or welcome back. Tisha here, back for another Married to Medicine Season 11 review. This is episode 16, Reunion Part 2. Oh my goodness. The last 2 minutes of this, even though we saw the clip already before, even though I talked about Simone when I said that I was over it, really, I don't understand what led to Simone being more upset in the back than even Tisha. Like, why are you so mad with Quad? What has Quad truly done to you? Because the energy that was given, the way that you lost your voice in yelling and you telling her that she got her karma, I just feel like it's a bit much. And this to me goes beyond her trying to protect a fellow doctor. Like, she legitimately has an issue with Quad. Be coworkers and keep it moving. We've seen it done on multiple shows. You all don't have to be friends, especially with what happened at the end of this. But let's get into it. Go ahead and do me a favor and hit the like button. So we begin the reunion right where we left off with Contessa saying that she heard things about Damon not being faithful, with Simone and Toya saying that they heard things as well. Heavenly wants to know if they believe it. We don't get to see what Toya says, but Simone says she doesn't know. I think that that's fair to say you don't know because you don't know. There have been people who you never thought would commit crimes that did, who you thought would be faithful that weren't. So, yeah, you really don't know. Contessa says, I mean, he's human. Heavenly, you seem like a miserable person to be with, so I hope he has some joy. Now, when she said it, I chuckled a little bit. I did. But then the moment that it set into me what she said, I was like, okay, Heavenly is going to say something ignorant right back at her. And she did. Because Heavenly's response to Contessa is that your titties are way over there, like meaning that they're separate from each other. Please don't talk about me when you have botched surgery. Heavenly, that didn't have anything to do with anything, and you keep showing that you're a flawed individual. Heavenly makes it hard to like her. Like, I sometimes like Heavenly because Heavenly is entertaining to me, but as far as humanity goes, outside, if I were to come into contact with Heavenly, I don't think Heavenly is someone that I will want to be my friend just because of how low she goes when there's an issue. I'm not even friends with Contessa. I don't even know this lady, but I remember her story. And I remember that Contessa's mother died from cancer. I remember that Contessa did some genetic screening and they found that she had similar traits. Like, she had the cancer trait in her testing. And I remember Contessa making the difficult decision to have a double mastectomy to prevent herself from getting cancer because she wanted to make sure that she would, survive it if she were to get it, that she, the chances of her getting it were less likely by her removing that tissue. And she wanted to make sure that she was here for her babies. She didn't want to leave her babies without a mom. So hearing that and knowing that Heavenly made that comment, it's like she doesn't think or she doesn't care about how low it is. So Jackie is hearing this conversation, as are all the other ladies. And of course, no one is going to address what was just said. Instead, Jackie tries to save her friend. And she changes the subject by saying, this makes me sad. She sounds like, she's about to cry. Because at one point they were friends. And all they're doing right now is blaming each other. The problem, in my opinion, is that there is no going back for them because neither one of them can admit what they did was wrong or the part that they played in all of this. Everybody wants to say, well, you did this, so I did this, rather than just saying I did this without the buts or without an explanation as to why. Dr. Simone points out that Contessa has been hurt by the things that Heavenly has said on social media about her. That her private statements to Heavenly should have remained private. I don't recall, and you all correct me if I'm wrong, I don't recall her saying anything that was private. I recall Contessa saying things about Scott even on television, which was why Heavenly told her to shut her mouth. And I recall her being asked on YouTube if they deemed some of the things that he was saying as abusive and her agreeing. I do feel like she shouldn't run her mouth about any of them. But the problem is, no matter how much Heavenly apologizes, this will remain an issue because Heavenly, like Andy points out, keeps apologizing for the same thing season after season. At what point do you really start to do the work? Actions speak louder than words. So stop saying that you're going to do better and do better. Like, you can't keep slapping me in the face and think because you say, "Oh, I'm sorry," that I'm supposed to be okay and forgive you. It doesn't work that way. So Andy points out that this roadblock is a pattern for Heavenly. Heavenly wants to know from Andy if she should stop her social media. And he tells her, like, as far as he's concerned, he doesn't think she should stop. He doesn't have a problem with it because she's not talking about him. But if she spoke about him the way that she does the other ladies, then he would want her to stop. So she was like, "Okay, then, Andy, I can keep going because I'm not talking about you." I said, "Lord, Heavenly, just be quiet." So Contessa says they did have a genuine relationship, but there are things that Heavenly has said that makes her question it. My problem with all of this is, and I agree a lot with what Contessa says, but Contessa says things as well. And she seems to feel like because Heavenly has done so much more, that she doesn't play a part in it. I understand Heavenly needs to be quiet. I understand that majority of the time Heavenly starts it, but I also understand that Contessa's hands aren't clean either. And my thought is that they both really need to take a step back and not be so focused on building a friendship and just focus on, their families and their businesses. So we get to T segment. We're reminded of some of the things that she went through this season. We found out that she tried to do 2 attempts of IUI, but they failed. So her next step is going to be IVF. She is not using Dr. Jackie or Dr. Simone. She is using Dr. Emery. The subject of her having 2 years to make a baby comes up. A viewer says, it was difficult to watch, and Heavenly says it wasn't sensitive. I agree. It was insensitive. I think that was a conversation that they should have had off camera. But what else do they have to give other than that in quad at this point? Seriously. Because I don't know what else T does that she's not showing us. I don't know. Anyways, so T admits that she was heartbroken at first, that Dr. G is in his late 50s. I think she said 56. So time is ticking. She says that Dr. Little did put a lot of pressure on her with the deadline, but if it doesn't happen within the 2 years, they are going to have other routes to try. I wonder if his specimen has been tested, because it's not always the woman. Even with her endometriosis, it could be him. Hopefully they've checked all that out and she isn't doing all this in vain. Dr. Simone starts talking about how being a parent is different when you're older, and she tries to bring Andy in on it, but Andy isn't as old as Dr. Little to my knowledge. He's like, "What the F, man?" And I just feel like we keep seeing in this episode Simone coming to the defense of her friends, Dr. Little and T. Even though she's using T because she wants T to get at quad. That's what it's given. I think out of all the ladies, the people who we see on our screen that really want her to stay there are going to be Contessa and Simone. Mimi, I don't think she cares either way. I don't think Dr. Jackie cares either way. Toya and Heavenly seem to be more siding with Quad right now, but Mimi and Simone, not Mimi, Simone and Contessa definitely want Toya to stay. And we know Simone wants, not Toya, Tisha. Goodness gracious. We know Simone wants Tisha to stay because Tisha can go against Quad, and Simone really has a problem with Quad. My opinion. Tell me yours. So next, the subject, Toya looks at Simone and says that, "I think you're insulting Andy," which she was. Andy brings up the age gap event, and a viewer wants to know, like, what's the three things or three steps to land a man that has, some money, a rich man. She doesn't answer the question. Instead, she says, is, every woman deserves to be loved, protected, supported, and provided for. Quad agrees. Quad says, I actually agree with that. A man should, a man should do that. He should provide for you, make you feel comfortable, and hear you when you speak. He should not shun you. I don't think it's right to dismiss you when you're only trying to get through to him. I said, Quad, I get what you're doing, but this is not the time to make a dig. And because of this, T gets to justify her thoughts of you always thinking about her. T says, there she goes again, being worried about Gregory again. And Andy tells T, I don't think she is. I don't think she's worried about Gregory either. I think that in a weird way, she's concerned about Tisha because she's been through things with Gregory and she sees some of the signs. But at this point, I want Quad to stop saying anything in regards to that man or T and let her find out for herself. Quad says, I don't get it. I gave you my scraps. I let you have him. You crawled into his DMs, promising him a baby, and you have not made good on that. Quad, girl. To say that you crawled into his DM promising him a baby and you haven't made good on your promise, that is next level diabolical. And what is sad about it, Quad, is my hope is that you don't get what she got, which is a reality check that is not as easy as you think. Because the same way that she's struggling to conceive now, it could be your plight when you actually try to conceive with King. You never know. You got to be careful the way that you talk about people. You're trying to conceive at some point too. And you're even older than her. So who's to say you may not have difficulties? You got to watch how you treat people. So she tells her, you have my scraps, T. And T shows her the bird. Her response was, T says, why are you acting like this? Did you not get enough money out of the divorce? I think by the time the divorce came around, Quad was making more money than Dr. Little, so I don't think that was a thing. Andy asked T how she felt about going on vacation with Quad. She tells him that, she didn't really feel good about it. She knew that there would be drama because Quad speaks on her and her marriage a lot, but she kept an open mind. My first thought is the both of you speak on each other. T, we not going to sit here and act like you weren't speaking on Quad, and even at the vacation, you were saying things that you heard from your husband. It wasn't something that you actually knew. And you say things about her online the same way she talks about you. Y'all talk about each other. I will say that she did have an open mind, though. It was Dr. Little that didn't have an open mind. I don't care about the back and forth of it all. They both were talking and saying things to each other, both on the show, off the show, and on social media. So it is what it is. Heavenly points out that T said that nobody wants a drunk. T says, yeah, you have a history of being drunk. You have 2 DUIs. She's an alcoholic. I don't like how deep these ladies go once again. And I don't know if it's true or not. Quad didn't act. I don't recall Quad denying it. I think Quad... I can't remember what Quad said. I'm over them. Andy says that's a big accusation. Heavenly says that's a strong allegation. I need Heavenly to look in the mirror because she's made strong allegations herself. We're not going to sit here and act like she hasn't said things about various members of the cast, especially Greg in recent years. So, right thing to say, wrong person to say it. T takes it back and changes it to, well, maybe she's not an alcoholic, but she was a drunk. She was a drunk that night at the game, and she said things about Gregory, so Gregory had a right to speak up for himself. I agree that Quad said things about Gregory. I agree that Quad should have never said a word to Gregory or to Tisha. But it shouldn't have gotten to the point that it did. What made it escalate was Toya pointing out whatever little thing that she pointed out, and Quad talking about the whole baby thing and him getting snappy with her and Quad getting snappy back with him. You telling Quad she has such a big effing mouth, that's not okay. But T doesn't feel like there's anything wrong with anything with any of that because he didn't curse at her or call her out of her name. Toya says what he said wasn't nice. It's not something a man should say to a woman. I agree. And points out that it's antagonistic. I just wish that Quad, as I said before, did not say a word to him, because had Quad not spoken about G or to G or about Sweet Tea or to Sweet Tea or about them making babies and having baby showers and all that other stuff, it would have never escalated in the first place. But to be fair, y'all should have never played that game with exes asking some of the questions that you were asking, because it was clear that Dr. Little was struggling with the fact that Quad was rubbing all that stuff in his face. So Dr. Simone says, she started off bragging about her relationship with King, but at some point it turned to them. I do agree with that, because I remember saying I wished a bunch of times that she did not speak on them. Quad says it's true. I want to tell everybody about my man. I do. I like him so much. I love him so much. I want to tell everybody about him. Which is what I was trying to say that night, that even though I'm saying all these things about him, I'm still in full support of the Lunsfords. I'm still in full support of them. But I want to be able to brag on my man. Andy then brings up yet another instance where Heavenly goes too far. We get a tweet with her saying that Dr. Little isn't respected in the medical community. Heavenly says that the part that you're missing is that his wife said, I wasn't respected in the medical community. That was me retaliating. I do recall her saying that. I do. But you retaliating doesn't make it better. Learn to shut up. Learn to shut up. If you want to respond, retweet what she said or say something to her, but to keep going on and on and on commenting, and then you take it to the next level, you make it hard for people to side with you, Heavenly, because you say too much and you do too much. She said, I was wrong. There's no beef with T. I apologize. Then the fertility conversation comes up because Heavenly said that her deceased mother has a better chance of conceiving than T. Heavenly says, once again, you're not looking at the whole thing. I said that because she said that my deceased mother was in hell. So I said what I said. I get it, but I'm over it. Andy asks if Heavenly feels like she owes T an apology because she was hard on her this season, and Heavenly apparently does not feel that way because she doesn't apologize. What she says is, I respect her for showing up today. She says that T says that she receives it and she feels like they can be cordial and maybe she'll unblock her, and they laugh about it. I don't think at this point that Heavenly and T will ever get along because it's just too much between the two of them. But we don't care, or I don't care. We see all the guys arrive. Dr. Little is excited, thinking he's about to reunite with the guys, but they're all upstairs while he is downstairs. He is told that he will not be with the rest of the men, that they have taken certain precautions to ensure his safety. Meaning, you wanted to file a report and say you were unsafe, so we gonna make sure that y'all don't see one another till you get on stage. Which, if you think about it, is still not safe, because if King wants to get to him, he can still get to him and vice versa. Like, do y'all got security right there or something? I don't know. Anyway, upstairs, the guys are telling King that it seems like he wants to move on. Dr. Eugene tells him that he thinks that Dr. Little's issues are with Quad. I just want to know why. What is the issue with Quad at this point? I get why Quad has an issue with him because of the whole abuse stuff, but why does he have an issue with Quad? Is it because she said something about it? I don't know. So Mimi comes to the stage. We see Dr. Mimi. She looks beautiful. Quad says Dr. Mimi is a good time. There's Mimi and then there's Dr. Mimi, and Mimi is a good time. They stayed out really, really late. Dr. Mimi is asked, what she saw in T, and she says, that being a newlywed is hard. Having others telling you their opinions are hard, especially on a platform like this. And the constant comparison with the ex has to be hard. Quad says, people will compare us, but you can't compete where you don't compare. I said, oh Lord, Quad, there you go again. If there's no issue, then why do you keep making little digs at T? Quad, I like you, but you know I'm gonna call a thing, and you can't keep poking at that girl and then get mad when she pokes back at you. I wasn't sure about Dr. Mimi at first because I felt like she was playing the fence because she was introduced as T's friend. But now that T has went to social media and said that she was not her friend and she was only instructed to bring her to the show, Dr. Mimi gets a pass on some of her interactions that I saw with her over the season. It seems like the various ladies like Dr. Mimi and she's a good addition. So hopefully we'll see more of her next season. We talk about the visit that Jackie them had with the VP at the time and how much that meant. And we're reminded now is the time to stick together because we're losing a lot of our rights. People are concerned and terrified about the what ifs. And when they were talking about that, that's such a true statement. And I wasn't even thinking about reproduction. I'm just thinking about life as a whole with these tariffs and everything else. Y'all, my car dealer sent us an email the other day to basically warn us to do whatever we need to do. If we want to trade in our cars, if we want to do any repairs or whatever, get ready to do that because the tariffs are going to affect pricing for like normal everyday things, like if you need to do some type of repair to your vehicle. And it's the things like all this stuff is going up and we're not being compensated for it at our jobs and things of that nature. So that's what I was thinking about when they were talking about that, even though I understand that they were more so talking about like our reproductive rights. But I just started thinking about other things as well. And it's a sad state. That's as far as I'm going on that. We find out that Scott needs more Botox than Contessa. Andy got some for the first time. He wonders if he needs more. Some of the ladies tell him to come to Atlanta, and Simone was like, no, your face will be frozen if you do that. I personally don't think I'll ever do Botox. I have noticed some changes in my face, but it's more so like it's rounder. I got wrinkles in my forehead and stuff, but those can stay there. I like it. It is what it is. We're meant to age. Andy asked Mimi to give her observation about each woman. She says Jackie is intentional, corrective conversations. Quad is grief. Grieve it out, she tells her. And I think that's not just with her situation with Dr. G. I think that's in life, period. She's been through some things, you know, what happened with her niece and everything else. Like there's a lot with that. Heavenly, she tells her to open up your inner child and nurture her. When she said that, I was like, wow. Now, Heavenly says she has had talks with her off screen and she has, you know, had conversations with her and she's been helpful with her kids and her marriage. So, Heavenly didn't go off about it. She actually seemed like she received it. And I do think that Heavenly has a lot of work to do. And that's one of the reasons why Heavenly is flawed. I don't think that Heavenly ever learned how to properly have healthy relationships. She says, Simone, less rigid, more flexibility. Toya, girl, you got it. You don't need any more validation. In other words, there might be a little bit of insecurities there with Toya, and Toya, you have no reason to be insecure. For Sweet Tea, let us know how to support you. We don't know. With Contessa, you have a lot of energy. Put it where it's supposed to be. I said, oh, Contessa smiles, but I wonder what she's talking about there. All the ladies say she was spot on. I said, okay, Dr. Mimi, I see you. I dig it. Hopefully Dr. Jackie and Dr. Simone were upset with their assessments, especially that Simone, because Simone don't let anything go, as evident with Quad. So we see all the men out on the stage and the women are behind the scenes watching. Andy speaks to all the men. We find out that Eugene's foot is still hurting. It's still messed up. Wonder how long ago it's been since he broke it, but it takes longer to heal, I guess, when, you know, with certain injuries. Andy tries to get Dr. Little and King to shake hands. It's not happening. Instead, Dr. Little wants to know what the reason was for King acting the way he did. King says, I don't have anything against Greg, but he's not taking accountability here. So, you know, I don't see where this is going to go. The subject of Eugene's medical spa comes up. He says he's willing to do Botox, but he's done the research and he's going to need to have an attractive woman working there. King wants to know how Toya will feel. Will Toya be okay with that? And Toya's in the back saying, "You tell him, King." And then she goes, "I just got to interview her." Then Eugene says for Toya, it depends on how much money it's bringing in. And they show Toya, and Toya's in the back saying, "Yeah, that's true." I often get on Toya about the way that she treats Eugene, but hey, they've been married for what? We saw them do 16 years. They're doing something right. We get flashbacks of all the things that happened with the guys this season, including Greg's awful song, and the guys laugh again at that mess. Heavenly's comments about Dr. G not being respected in the medical community are brought up again. Dr. Little didn't like it. Andy asks how Damon would feel if the roles were reversed, and Sweet Tea did that to them. Damon lies by saying he could care less. Nothing that said could hurt him. But that's not true, Damon. You're making it evident that it would bother you. Because if you feel like the cheating allegations are like that, then yeah. He feels like Dr. Little was a coward for sitting there and not saying anything when his wife alleged that he cheated, and that was some bull. And he don't even curse, but he cursed then because Greg knows his character and he's known him for years. The fact that Damon is still talking about this a year later is annoying to me. It's clear that he's not over it. I don't think that these two will be friends again, but maybe they'll be cordial. G feels like Damon is sensitive about what T said about cheating. Cecil points out that he could be upset at the fact that Damon didn't stand up for him when Heavenly was saying, the same stuff about G. So, what's the difference? And that's true. That's true. T and Heavenly are in the back fussing. Eugene points out that Heavenly called Damon the P word, P-a-phile, on social media, and that could have affected his practice. They could shut everything down. That's true. That's the part that I don't agree with on either side. The ladies have said things that are messed up, and the men are forced to be in the middle of it, but neither one of these men are addressing their wives, and if they are, we're not seeing it. Damon says, "I'm not saying her saying the P word was right, it was wrong, but if you had an issue, you should have talked to me. You talked to every dude here and not me." Now, we do know that at some point they had a conversation, but I wonder how much time passed for them to have said conversation. Damon says, "You got mad and you stopped seeing my patients," while Dr. G is saying that he stopped seeing the patients because of something completely else. It was because they were needy patients. They were high maintenance. And that's not what you said in the beginning. Like, you got to pick which one it is. Like, have you thought about this more and then decided the other thing? Because I think that Dr. Damon's telling the truth. Like, you got mad with him and you decided not to see his patients. And that's your right. You can do that. You can refuse to see someone. Dr. Damon calls him a liar because he says, "You sitting here talking about their high maintenance, but you've been seeing some of those patients for years. So why is it a problem now?" I said, ooh. I do believe that G is lying and that he did not say anything to Damon about his feelings about the comments until we saw it. I do believe that he purposely stopped seeing his patients. So Heavenly and Toya are telling T that her husband is wrong, I guess in regards to stop seeing the patients. Heavenly calls him a B. Y'all got to stop talking about each other's men like that, because if the roles were reversed, Heavenly, you would be mad. Toya says, "You got to admit that's a problem, Tisha. And the problem is your household, is that nobody is speaking except for him." Andy asked if you were okay, would you have told him that you didn't have the bandwidth to take these patients? And he's like, I did tell him. Damon says, "No, you did not. You did not tell me that. You did not tell me that you were going to stop seeing my patients. You're lying." That's what I'm talking about with character. Integrity is important to me. So Gregory starts laughing, but it's this weird lower laugh that he doesn't do. Here's the thing. I think that all Dr. G needed to say was, "I don't want to deal with you or your patients." And he has every right, as I said, to say it. So for them to keep going on back and forth about this, I was getting over it. And I cannot wait for this season to be over. So Dr. Little says, "You got it." Steve tries to suggest that, they should come to common ground. Damon says, "You want to talk to me and I want to talk to you. I don't want this to fester anymore." G says, "I never meant to hurt you. I'm sorry, if I let you down." And there's an apology. Finally, hopefully that's it. Next, we get to the couples trip. Eugene says that it was an uphill battle having the exes around each other. Eugene says if it was him, he wouldn't have went. All the men have said that. The only man who hasn't said that is Greg. A comment from the viewer is made. It says that maybe Quad isn't trying to rub anything in his face. Maybe she just loves her man. There shouldn't be an issue with her just wanting everybody to know how much she loves him. I think two things could be the same. I think that she does want everybody to know that she loves her man, and I think that she also knew that it was going to get to Greg, and she took joy in rubbing it in his face. Quad is in the back saying that part. Curtis says, you got to remember that there was an entire year of Quad having to hear about Greg and T. And Greg was very generous in talking about Letitia. Quad was there. Quad didn't have a man. Toya says, damn, yeah, he's telling the truth. And of course, here comes Simone to jump to Gregory's defense again. See, Simone always has something to say about Quad and what Quad does, but Simone doesn't ever see what she does, because why did you feel the need to say all of that? Quad wasn't there. Quad wasn't there. She didn't have to watch it. She did have to watch. Maybe not in her face all the time, but y'all were in places together. She had to watch her friends sit there and kiki. She had to watch Cecil talking about how T is a better woman for G. She had to watch it. Quad says the fact that you ushered them back into this group is an effing problem. Let's start there. She's right, because y'all should have never been okay with them coming to the show. If production came to any of you all with it, you should have shut it down, knowing what your friend, your co-star, your co-worker, whatever her history was with this man. She says, y'all allowed them to, you guys allow for these people to come, and you utilize these people against me. And you did, because you took Dr. G's side when that lady told you that he was allegedly abusing her. I'm saying alleged just for the sake, but he admitted to it. You took Dr. G's side when she told you that he was cheating on her. You took Dr. G's side when it came to her not giving him a baby. You took Dr. G's side and feeling like she was wrong for giving him a divorce. Simone says, you weren't around so we could usher in whoever the F we wanted to. I said, oh, wow. Quad tells her to shut the F up. Simone tells her to shut the F up. Quad says, I said it first. Simone says Quad gave them her ass to kiss, and they chose to hang out with Greg. Well, there you have it. Quad says, and you got mad. You got mad. What did you get mad for, you dirty bee? I said, oh, Quad. Oh, I wasn't expecting that. And Quad said that dirty B like the whole word with her chest. She was like, you dirty itch. I said, oh, wait. Dr. Simone says, you got exactly what karma has coming to you. You turn your back on people, and we did you the same. I said, ooh, the truth is coming out. The truth is coming out. Why? She says, turn it back. Who was there for you when you were looking for your dad? Simone says it was for the cameras. I don't believe that, because anybody else could have went with her. I don't think that it was just for the cameras. I think that at one point her and Simone were close, and she really wanted to be there for her. Y'all, tell me what you thought about this one. Ooh, this one towards the end had my blood boiling. If there's something that I forgot to mention that you want to talk about, feel free to put it down below. Until next time, peace.